That was all I had intended at the time, to make the poor hounded wretch laugh. He had been seriously ill for months during the occupation by the Commune, and he didn't look nearly strong enough to face the struggle that lay ahead with the Third Republic. The threats of the minister, the personal accusation of fraudulent malpractice and mismanagement that would continually be leveled at him at the cost of the opera spiraled upward. Yes, the ghost was no more than a joke at first, intended to amuse a sick man with many worries. It was only later that I began to see certain possibilities for myself. Wanted, one ghost, experience, and good character required. It might be amusingly to apply for the post. After all, I did have the experience. I'd been a ghost before, and a damn good ghost, too. I'd driven my mother half out of her mind before I was 10, and I hadn't even been trying. I'd had a vocational training, as it were. Surely this was a role which lay well within my range. It was just a game to begin with, permitting myself to be glimpsed occasionally as I stalked the upper corridors, appearing and disappearing at will via carefully conceived trapdoors and hidden passageways. A series of little tricks and illusions added mightily to my awesome reputation among the corps de ballet. Silly children, for the most part, who dearly loved to be frightened half to death by a shadow and a disembodied voice. Soon they could talk of nothing in the dressing room but the ghost. Those who had actually seen me, privileged beings, entitled to respectful silence whenever they began to embroider their tales. Dreadful little liars, of course, all of them, but who cared? Certainly not me. There is no legend without artistic license, no tale that will benefit from the fertile imagination of the storyteller. And what imaginations those girls had! Better than mine at times. Sometimes I took notes for future reference. So the game was already established when I began to see how it might gain me more than a good laugh. The opera ghost was growing weary of his little role as an unpaid amusement. For half the time he applied to management for a salary. The more I thought about it, the more I liked the idea. The Corps de Ballet was already calling me the Phantom of the Opera, an intriguing sobriquet which applied to me very strongly, until I realized it would mean citing my ransom notes PTO. One did not wish to descend the ridiculous. OG I became, and OG I have remained. I still like to think of myself as the Phantom. Looking back, the whole thing was quite criminally easy to arrange. I was blessed with two managers, neither of them mental giants, and one of them surely the biggest fool in the history of the theater. Poligny. Oh dear, credulous Poligny, your interests, little personal vices, serve me as your simple mind. I frightened you out of your wits that night in Box 5 when you first heard my voice. For after all, a ghost who knew so much about one's dubious private affairs had to be better humored, had he not? Particularly when his terms were so reasonable. 20,000 francs a month and Box 5 on the grand tier to be reserved exclusively for my personal use. Extortionate? Hardly. A really efficient ghost is hard to come by these days, and one could say I didn't value for money in my own way. Poligny left Box 5 as white as a sheet, with instructions to write my terms into the lease of the opera house. I expected a prolonged period of struggle, particularly from his partner, Debian, but one swift manifestation of my displeasure was sufficient to bring capitulation from them both. My reputation, swelling of all out of proportion among the Corps de Ballet, had done most of the work for me. Everyone already believed in the opera ghost. It was unbelievable how quickly I attained my power over them, and how seldom I was obliged to crack the whip in order to remind them who was the master here. A little magic, a little clever ventriloquism, and they were mine for the taking. Through similar means I attained the worthy services of Madame Giry, the box keeper, and with this old lady acting as go-between, I established an entire foolproof system of receiving my unorthodox allowance. Oh, they tried to track me down, of course they did, but their consistent failure only increased their fear of me. They did, but would not hear of involving the police. He had far too much to hide. Once the pattern of my life was set, my existence proceeded with ceaseless regularity along oblique and empty continuum, entirely untroubled by emotion. I listened to endless operas, steady voice with cool composure. I write notes to the management whenever I had cause to raise some matter grievance. A little missive from OG arriving mysteriously on a desk through the locked doors of the manager's office was guaranteed to put Polygony out of humor for the rest of the day. Sometimes I complained just for the pleasure of winding him up like a clockwork toy. Occasionally I was even interfered with casting. I made sure that Madame Gurie's little daughter, Meg, was promoted to the leader of the row. That child could dance as well as any of the others, and it cost me very little effort to make her widowed mother smile with pride. But by and large, I remained aloof, totally indifferent to the insularity and mediocrity of the performances. Very few people went to the opera house for the quality of his music. They went to see and be seen. I was indifferent to most things by that time anyway. Middle-aged, well past angry frustrations of youth, a tall morning candle burning steadily down a pool of black wax. All emotion and regret was behind me now that I willingly embraced the existence of the living dead. I expect to never feel anything again. And that was it for that chapter. See you later.